now Michelle is a transgender.
Our girl Michelle cannot escape these allegations.
I would stake my entire professional career that Brigitte Macron, the current First Lady of France, was born a man.
We're gonna look at the evidence for both of them being transgender, come up with a final verdict, and I will definitely be able to tell you. I've tried to intro this like 4 times and I can't keep a straight face because this is a slightly unserious video with some serious moments. I have been asked, it is probably the bane of my existence, do you think Michelle Obama is trans? Do you think Michelle Obama was born a man? I'm telling you, I have had fairly serious people, like respectable people, pull me to the side and really ask me like, what's your opinion on Michelle Obama being born a man? Because these are rumors and allegations that cannot escape her. You know, this is an old one. And I feel like especially with how unpopular Democrats are right now, it's looking like our girl Michelle cannot escape these allegations. And in light of allegations about First Lady Brigitte Macron of France coming out, mostly per Candace Owens' series called Becoming Brigitte on her YouTube channel, which I have been glued to. Hey, Candace. Long time no see.
This bitch so crazy. This girl is a guy. Guys.
The allegations about Brigitte are a bit more serious and go a bit deeper than the Obama rumors, to be honest. And watching it and just seeing a lot of the stuff, it's been really shocking. Almost as shocking as y'all getting me to care about France. Because I swear to God, this is the only way y'all are gonna get me to do a video about French politics. We're gonna look at the evidence for both of them being transgender, come up with a final verdict, and you know you can trust me because I'm a f***ing tranny. But honestly, I do have the best tranny dar in the world, and I will definitely be able to tell you. So, let's be real, your online safety is not something you can afford to ignore. If you're not browsing with a VPN, you're leaving yourself open to hackers, trackers, and even being spied on by your own internet provider. That is where Surfshark comes in. Surfshark is a top-tier VPN which encrypts your internet connection and keeps your data safe and secure, no matter where you are. Whether you're at home, traveling abroad, or just hanging out in a local coffee shop, Surfshark is of the utmost importance to utilize, shielding you from cyber threats and prying eyes. Which brings up the topic of public Wi-Fi. A lot of us have to use it, whether we're at the airport, at work, in public establishments. And guess what? These networks are not secure. Hackers love to use these public networks to steal your info, but with Surfshark, they can't do that. Plus, amazingly, Surfshark allows you to bypass geo restrictions. So you can access content from any place in the world. You want to stream a show that you can't stream in your home country? Surfshark has your back. Maybe you just want to avoid region-based price hikes when you're buying flights for traveling or anything else. Surfshark also has your back for that. I've personally been using Surfshark for years now. I'm not even sure how long, but it's just a habit now. Whenever I get a new computer, it's the first thing I install. And Surfshark has other amazing products like Surfshark Antivirus, Surfshark Alerts, Surfshark Search. Long story short, you need Surfshark. Go to surfshark.com/BlaireWhite for 4 extra months of Surfshark. And by the way, they have a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's really no risk. Do not surf the web without Surfshark. Get it today. You're not going to regret it. I highly recommend it. And thank you so much to Surfshark for sponsoring today's video. And now on to the video. The allegations about Michelle Obama have been going on for a long time. I remember even during like the first election for the Obamas, this was a thing. People were saying, is she a man?
Bizarre conspiracy theory behind Michelle Obama memes. Now, this is another one. When I see this and I see people saying that she's a man and all that, I'm like, oh, China got to you. If they can get you to think that Obama's married to a man.
You know, and at the end of the day, Michelle Obama's a man.
Because, you know, one thing about her is she does have a certain stature, right? She does have a certain look and way of existing, and I'm really not trying to be shady because people come in all, you know, shapes and sizes, men and women. So let's just dive into all of the evidence. Oh. Oh. I feel like it jiggled. I mean, far from evidence. As funny as it is, because if that was really something up under there, I mean, she's swinging. Like, she would be well endowed, right? But it's looking like either some editing or just some ugly pants. The pants are more offensive, honestly. And if she really was trans, and this wasn't just a fold in the pants and lighting or whatever, I don't know any trans who doesn't tuck before leaving the house, especially if you're working with that. Especially if you're working with that. You're going to need industrial grade tape or something, because clearly you're not going to walk out in white pants, right? Rocking that monster. I mean, I think it was a fold in the pants. I don't actually know how much it matters at all if either one of them are trans. I mean, the amount of things that the government and politicians and spouses of politicians lie about. I mean, we're looking at 9/11. We're looking at COVID. We're looking at UFOs, girl. Like, we're looking at such a mountain of lies that, like, it's actually a bit inconsequential if either one of them have penises. Not exactly proving anything yet, but let's keep going. So this next one is a video where people are saying that they're trying to drop hints.
I feel really lucky that I've gotten to know you a bit over the last many years. And I just want to have a conversation. I'm about to turn 60 this summer. You've turned 60 this year. Let's just start a little bit with transitions. We all go through lots of transitions in life, but you've been through some big ones. I know people have asked you a lot about, okay, what was it like to transition into the White House? But what I really want to know is, what was it like to transition out? What was the next day like for you?
That's a good question.
Yeah, and then how have you kind of...
Peep Michelle's face, first of all. She's like, I know you're not using that word. And how many times can you fit the word transition in one question? That was 4 or 5, at least. So I'm thinking this is less about them dropping hints and more about an interviewer being either ill-prepared because she don't know people are going to run with that, or very well prepared and knowing this was going to be viral forever by dropping the word transition 5 times. And you could see it all over Michelle's face. She's like, really? Really, ho? I mean, at the end of the day, it's like people do be going through transitions. Like, trans people don't have a monopoly on the word transition. This is Michelle being interviewed by a transgender child, which is demonic. Just right there, right? Like, in my opinion, more of a bombshell is that she's up here supporting sex changes for minors, but maybe I'm just morally askewed, right? But apparently, this is her being interviewed by a transgender child who gets Michelle a bit shook and she gets nervous, which is what people use as evidence to show that she's lying.
Well, what's on your mind? What do you want to know? What do you want to talk about?
Yes, I actually did want to talk to you about, I wanted to ask you one question about your book, which, by the way, I have read and I love it. Divine. And yes, so I wanted to ask you, what advice do you have for teens who want to be themselves and thrive like you have and currently are?
Well, like you have and currently are, you know? I mean, I am just so proud of you.
Okay, again, what I feel like this is better proof of is Michelle being very aware of these allegations and saying, I know you did not just include me up in your mess. I didn't even know I was going to do this interview today. They sprung it on me, and now your little demon child ass is trying to tell people I'm trans. Not today. Not today, Satan. For me, if anything, it's making me feel a little bad for her because it is showing she is very aware of the allegations. And, you know, at a time like, you know, these times, I would think that maybe this would be something that would allow right-wingers to have just like a little bit of empathy for the other side, something we can agree on. Like, we probably shouldn't be accusing Michelle of being what they call Big Mike. They say that, right? They say that.
I have no issue with Big Mike.
That is the wackiest conspiracy.
It's a
currently
wacky
available.
conspiracy. Can I make one point for the people that on the side of it? But I don't think she's Big Mike. It is weird that there's not one photo of her pregnant, but maybe there is.
And that's funny. But the thing about it is, ain't nothing wrong with being big as a woman. Just because you're a big back. Just because you're a big back, that's not a sin. So some of the other evidence is that there's no pregnancy photos of Michelle, which, you know, that's a bit shady. It's a bit weird because I feel like everyone really does take photos while they're pregnant. However, I think there's actually multiple possibilities here before going to her being trans. If you remember the Obama campaign, at least they perceived it to be a very much uphill battle to get the first Black president in office. And so they were really invested in creating a picture of the perfect nuclear family, right? A mom, a dad, multiple kids. And for me, I feel like maybe her not having any pregnancy photos is more evidence that she either used IVF to get them or adoption. And maybe there was a call made that we're not going to really talk about that because that's less than the like perfect nuclear family that they were trying to play into. I don't know. I just think there's multiple options before she's actually Mike. But the smoking gun that people say is proving that she is a man is an actual short interview by Joan Rivers, the legendary. I love Joan. One of the best compliments I ever got was there was a top comment on one of my podcasts that was like, Blaire, you're like the trans Joan Rivers. Like, this is what we need. Go subscribe to my podcast channel. I'm a lot more loose than I am on here. Lord miss her. She would have been glorious to have during the actual Trump years. But let's see what this interview proves.
And do you think that the country will see the United States will see the first gay president or the first woman president?
We already have it with Obama, so let's just calm down.
Got it.
You know Michelle is a trans.
I'm sorry, she's a what?
A transgender. We all know.
Oh my gosh.
Oh gosh.
He said, oh my gosh. So people bring this interview up and then they talk about how a few months later, Miss Joan passed away. But let's see if that holds up. So Joan called Michelle a tranny in July of 2014 and Joan died September 2014, which is some stuff they would really do, right? Let's not forget that. Who was that? That chef?
The tragic drowning accident of the Obama family chef, Tafari Campbell. Now, according to new reports, a female staffer was paddleboarding with Campbell when he fell off his board.
This isn't the first time a president's personal chef died suddenly. Walter Scheib, a former executive chef during the administrations of Presidents Bill Clinton and George W. Bush, also drowned accidentally in 2015.
Joan is a comedian, so why we're taking her words literally, I mean, come on. The official reason for Joan Rivers' death is cerebral hypoxia during plastic surgery, which is a bit believable considering clearly Miss Girl was surged up and going really hard in that arena.
Women of the finest military in the world. Michael and I.
Does anything scare him?
You know, well, when Michelle's mad, when Michelle's mad,
Michelle Obama is a man. Oh yeah. Her real name is Michael.
I don't know. That was a bit weird, but that first one was cut way too close to know the context. And then, I don't know. It's not giving hard proof, right? Of a hard. It's not giving what I need to really believe it. It seems like the most hard-hitting evidence that Michelle Obama is trans, is born a man, is really named Mike. It's just that she looks a certain way, which I don't know if y'all have walked out into the world, but it's a lot of these women out here that look quite rough, right? And I don't actually think she looks that rough. I just think she's big. And when you're big on camera, you be looking supersized.
Because honestly, if you don't look so passable or whatnot, people are going to say, oh, that's a man with a dress on. And then there's going to be discourse.
The thing is, what you're going to see, unlike Miss Brigitte Macron, there is evidence of Michelle's childhood. You know, her childhood friends are around. There's photos of her as a child. It's a whole life that has been documented, and it is a female life, right? Look at God. And so my verdict as someone with, again, that tranny dar, Michelle Obama's a woman. It is what it is. That is my opinion. And that's the only time I'm ever addressing this stupid shit It really is. So we're gonna see if Brigitte has a wee.
Nice.
I can't. Let's get into Miss Brigitte Macron, because this shit is most definitely a lot darker. We're gonna look at the evidence just like with Michelle. I'm gonna give you my verdict after, but what I have to say at the beginning is one of the things that I think is lost in the sensational, like, is Brigitte Macron a man, is the fact that she is undeniably, in my opinion, because I'm not trying to get sued, everything in this video is alleged hoe, a predator, in my opinion, my conspiracy, allegedly, because she did meet Emmanuel Macron when he was 15 in 1993, the year I was born, by the way. And she was 39. She met him because she was teaching at the school he went to. So that, to me, right off the bat, whether or not Brigitte is a man or born a man, that is reason enough to be like, what is going on in the, I don't even know what the White House version of what the French White House would be called, right? But what is really going on inside the palace walls that we have a allegedly pedophilic relationship being represented? What does that say about France? What does that represent about France? And apparently, you know, according to Brigitte, and the narrative that they spun about their relationship was that she saw him in a play, like an art play during school, and fell in love with him. Love at first sight, just couldn't resist him. And to me, that is so beyond disgusting that it's actually a wonder why that isn't talked about more. Apparently, she also left her grown husband. It's a lot of really shady stuff going on with Brigitte. I do recommend Candace's videos on this. Growth. Because one thing she really did prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is that it's some really gross, you know, in proximity to this family that is just demented. And isn't that just so how the world works, right? Isn't that just so what we've learned over these past few years of really uncovering secret societies and the Epsteins of the world and, you know, the celebrity world, government? The world is really ran by diddlers. That's just an undeniable fact, which is another thing that you would be called a conspiracy theorist for so many years. Now, it's weird because the French government and the media over there has definitely tried to like spin a narrative of it being some beautiful love story. And so they'll write things about how she just couldn't resist him. But also they put out headlines like this, which is clearly like Brigitte slightly running away from the grooming allegations. Brigitte Macron says her head was in a mess when she dated future French president when he was 15 and she was 40. A mess is an understatement, girl, if that is your real gender. A mess is an understatement. Really disturbingly, and this is something that I had to fact check multiple times because it was just so shocking to me, is that in Emmanuel Macron's official presidential photo, his portrait, right? The same way that's like the iconic Trump one, it's like President of France gets a portrait. He has a book in the background written by a known, what's called a pederast. I guess there's a different word for pedos who were gay men into boys or something. I don't know. Maybe that's just a French thing that they call them over there, pederast. Either way, a diddler book snuck into the background of the photo. And when you combine that with the knowledge that he got with Brigitte when he was a child himself, that is really disturbing. And again, I think that's so much bigger of a story. And it's so crazy how that sort of stuff really is put in your face so often. And I think that a lot of people have almost like a trauma response to this. There are many ways in which, you know, is thrust into the foreground of media and hidden in plain sight. You can pull up a million examples in American culture, American movies, Disney movies where they sneak little things in. And so that's not something new, but I think most people have a bit of a trauma response to it. They either can't pick up on it because they don't know, for which I almost envy people who are still innocent of the evils of, you know, who's really running the world, but also people who know, they just don't want to believe it's true. I think the fact that a diddler book is in the background of a president's picture who was diddled himself, it's just, as someone who does photo shoots much less consequential than a presidential portrait, right? One day, not now, but one day, you know, pictures are very intentional. And when there's only a couple books in the background on the desk of the president, when he's taking his, what's the message trying to be sent? For me, that's just way more diabolical than if Brigitte is a man. The evidence that Brigitte was born a man is really consisting of the fact that there's this picture right? And I'll put it up on the screen of a little boy that is supposedly her brother, but that no one can seem to find as an adult that really looks exactly like her. And right off the bat, I do have to say her body and her face, it does give a bit of a T vibe, right? And that's just coming from a T. So take whatever you want from that. I don't know. It's a lot of women out here that look right, especially of a certain age. And one thing the right kind of fails to hold space for is that like women, just because they're aging, like I see a lot of like trans investigations of like women just over 50. And it's like, like women just look a certain way when they're older. But the thing about Brigitte that is different from Michelle is that there is a complete blackout of the first 30 years of her life. Now, mind you, she met Emmanuel when Emmanuel was a teenager, when she was almost 40. They kind of presented as if her life started there. And I don't know if that's more of a statement on like French media and how they want the first lady to not really have much of a story beyond being with the president. But I just feel like it's really weird. So for me, you can look at Michelle Obama, you can see childhood photos, you can see her childhood friends. You cannot actually do the same for Brigitte. And as usual, you can find all of the sort of, funny, if we're being real, videos and picture evidence of her being a male, which here's one. Ooh. This is strong. I mean, that's a whole man spread. And I don't know. I just feel like some women man spread, like, especially if you're trying to be like, you have to seek power to become a first lady in some way, right? It's like she's trying to sit powerfully. Not really great proof. One interesting bit of tea is that Brigitte was exposed for having plastic surgery, which is not shocking in and of itself, but her surgeon is someone who is like supposedly specifically known for facial feminization surgery and trans surgeries, which I don't know. I feel like if a surgeon can make a trans woman look like a woman, then like they can probably do wonders for like biological women. I personally have had biological women ask me specifically who my surgeon is because they're like, if they can turn out a trans woman, then I want to go to them as a woman. And so it's not necessarily a smoking gun, although it is a bit fishy. When you also look at Emmanuel Macron's backstory, it's a lot of really weird questions about his previous life too. A lot of really clearly intentionally blacked out information. For me, what it's giving is MK Ultra. That's what it's giving. And perhaps that needs its own specific conspiracy video for this series. But for me, it looks like someone who was groomed to be president in multiple ways, right? Not just a 40-year-old and a 15-year-old getting together, which I struggled. Here's the thing. I know the age of consent in France is 15, literally. It's interesting that they have it right on the line there, right? It's like, did they really meet at 15 or like, was he around her at 14 because she worked at the school? But I don't really care what the age of consent is. That's nasty. It's beyond disgusting. And regardless of the legality, because remember, child marriage is also legal in quite a number of places and they don't get a pass just because of that, right? You're a 40-year-old with a 15-year-old, you're going to hell for that. I think that's really the bigger story for me. God forbid I care about the real stuff. I mean, perhaps Brigitte Macron is born a man. I mean, the fact that she has a blacked out life, the fact that she went to a trans surgeon, damn, that's kind of a big one. The fact that she gives T-girl energy, right? I think, unfortunately, the more uncomfortable reality than even Brigitte being potentially trans is that the way a lot of people are put into power around the world on some Manchurian Candidate stuff, right, on some MK Ultra stuff, is really dark. And I think the fact that the lives of these people are so blacked out from the beginning is more telling of how that works and more telling of how they were potentially placed there artificially or through literal mind control than her being trans. I'm telling you right now, Brigitte and Emmanuel being under mind control is objectively more likely than Brigitte being transgender. And that's a really scary world to live in. And so sometimes you have to pull people into reality that, like, I know it's safer to sit here and question if Brigitte Macron is transgender, but the scarier reality might be that they're under mind control. And that's speculation, by the way, because again, don't come over here with a lawsuit, girl. This is for T-girl, the T-girl. From trans woman to trans woman, don't be coming over here suing, because even that was a joke. So my verdict, my professional transgender opinion, right, for Brigitte Macron is a question mark. I'm leaving it open-ended because the only evidence I've seen of Brigitte being trans is speculative. There's really no smoking gun. There is a case to be built up based on circumstantial evidence, but I really don't know. Somehow I doubt anyone's ever going to be pulling their pants down to prove anything, right? I think, again, just such a bigger part of the conversation is the fact that there's some really weird, erased history from Brigitte and Emmanuel's life. You know, as someone who's gone very deep down the rabbit hole of conspiracy theories and been convinced of some pretty like paradigm shifting, like insane, dark stuff about the world. A lot of stuff I do not even make YouTube videos about because it's just a bit much, and maybe we'll get there as an audience together. But I think it's just easier to sort of hang your hat on less consequential theories about like, oh, the first lady of this country is transgender, when even within that one, there's a much bigger story about some really disgusting, inappropriate relationships happening with the first lady and the president of France, and with some really strange erased history from both of their lives. And I think that it's just a little more comforting to think that that's the story, when to me the story is that she's clearly hiding something with the erasure of the first 30 years of her life. What that is, I don't know. That's why it's a question mark. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe you guys have seen other evidence that I have not. You're probably not going to sway me on Miss Michelle. And maybe that's just me writing for America a little bit more. But did Candace convince you? Did I convince you of anything? Are you a Michelle truther? Like, what are you? What do you identify as? I hope you guys enjoyed this, like I said, slightly less than serious, but with some serious undertones and overtones video, right? Make sure you subscribe to this channel as well as my podcast channel. Follow me on X and Instagram, and I will see you in the next video.